Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bass Fishing. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to paddle a fishing kayak. All right guys, so before I can teach you how to paddle a fishing kayak, I actually have to talk to you a little bit about how to paddle. And it's real simple. The easiest way to do it is set the paddle on your legs, grab the paddle a little bit over shoulder width apart. Put the paddle on top of your head, it should make a box. Hold your hands out in front of you. This should be slightly outside your elbow, okay? The hand that you throw a baseball with, or the hand that you prefer to throw a punch with, is going to be what we like to call your glue hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab the paddle blade, and your knuckles should be lined up with the blade. This hand should be glued to the paddle, and it should never release. The other hand is going to go on the paddle in the same fashion, but this is going to be your grease hand. So the way that that works is you grip the paddle with this hand loosely. So when I get ready to make a stroke, I open that hand, rotate the paddle, make my catch on the left side, pull forward. But when I get ready to go to the right side again, I loosen this hand up to put my paddle in the water for the catch, and I move forward, rotate, pull, rotate, pull, rotate, pull. And so I like to keep my fingers a little looser on my grease hand, but you also want to kind of move your fingers on your grease hand, your glue hand every now and then. You don't want to try to squeeze the black out of the paddle shaft. It's going to cause forearm cramps, it's going to cause shoulder problems, it's going to cause tennis elbow, and a myriad of other things. So hold the paddle loose with both hands. This is your glue hand. This is the hand that's not going to slide on the paddle, and this is your grease hand, the hand that's going to allow the paddle to rotate. And you reach out. Again, I'm grabbing it with just my index finger and my thumb, and I'm pulling, and then I'm fulcruming against the inside of my hand here and loosening that up. On each stroke, I'm kind of finger rolling the paddle blade to make sure that I don't over squeeze the shaft. I have actually, early on in my fishing career, I said, I don't need to know how to paddle. I'm a fisherman, not a kayaker. And then I realized after paddling 60, 70 miles a week for the first 10 years of kayak fishing that I was actually a paddler, whether I liked it or not. So if you want to invest in becoming a better kayak angler, invest in becoming a better paddler. Watch some of the videos about proper paddling technique. Today, I'm just talking to you about effectively paddling a fishing kayak. There's a couple of strokes that you need to know to be able to do that. One stroke that I think every kayak angler should know before we get into the paddling part is what's called a draw stroke. It allows you to make easy sideways movements without making a lot of noise. It allows you to pull up next to your buddy. It allows you to position yourself properly. And the way that you do that is you simply put your paddle blade in the water, and you take your top end, and it should be almost vertical. And it's like you're just spreading butter on toast, and you're drawing the kayak sideways. I like to lean into it a little bit, and the reason that I do that is because when I get to the point when I want to stop, I dig my paddle and then take the lean out, and I'm where I want to be. That's a draw stroke, and I think everybody that knows how to paddle a fishing kayak should know how to do that. The other thing that I see people not doing properly is a sweep stroke for positioning the boat. Everybody thinks you can only turn on one side of the boat. Well, instead of turning all right by going left, you should also put the left side and push forward, and then you can rotate the boat that much quicker. So use every possible stroke that's available to you to become a better paddler, but the two you should learn right off the bat is a sweep stroke for moving your nose, a draw stroke for moving your boat sideways, and then more importantly, a proper forward paddling stroke. So let's talk about that. And then when this video is over, you'll be a better paddler, which will make you a better paddling angler. Even if you pedal, motorize, or do any of the other alternative methods of propulsion, you're still going to paddle a kayak at some point, so you should know how to do it. All right, so first and foremost, you have to choose a paddle, but that's a separate video. I choose the Bend and Branches Angler Pro. In this case, it's the Angler Pro Carbon. Now, the reason that I choose this paddle is it is an adjustable length. So that allows you to accommodate going from the low seat to the high seat, different widths in kayaks, and the different types of fishing that you're doing. So I highly suggest, I strongly recommend picking up an adjustable ferrule paddle if it can fit your budget. But what we're going to talk about today is how to paddle a fishing kayak. Now, selecting the proper paddle is part of that, because I see a trend in buying too long of a paddle, and I think that it compensates for poor paddling technique and form. And I'm just going to leave it at that and tell you that I use a 230 to 245 centimeter paddle. I'm in one of the highest, actually I'm in the highest seat on the market in a 33.5-inch boat. So it's a wide boat, a high seat, but I'm still using a 235 or 230 to 245. Right now I've got it set right at like about 235, 240. Okay, so the first thing is to make sure that you hold your paddle correctly. I see a lot of people slide to one side and paddle and then slide to the other side and paddle. If you do that, your paddle's too short. The other thing that I see guys do is paddle way out to the side of the kayak. I'm just going to demonstrate why that's a bad idea. If you reach way out and you paddle, it brings your nose left. And then on the next stroke, it brings your nose right. And so if you're looking at yourself from above, you look like a water bug. To paddle properly, you want to be able to have a stroke that comes as close to the side of the boat without hitting it as possible, because you want to be stealthy. You also want to be able to reach out and have what's called a clean catch. The catch is when the paddle goes into the water. I see people start right here and they try to generate a lot of power and they look like they're trying to beat the water into submission. You don't need to do that. What you do is simply slide your paddle out into the water, make a clean stroke down the side of the boat, and you notice my nose moved. But then the more vertical I get, and once I get a little bit of momentum, I'm just gonna go right down the side of the boat. I'm gonna paddle nice and smooth and nice and clean. When you get ready to stop, just dig your paddle in and bring yourself to a stop, and then get rid of all resultant movement before you make a cast. The other thing that I see guys do is they stop paddling and they start casting and their boat's still moving, and they get too close to the bank and they fight the kayak nonstop. When you get ready to make a cast, get rid of the resultant movement unless you're using that to aid in the presentation that you're making. I see this a lot too. Guys are paddling. They pick up their rod, they make a cast. They're still moving forward. They set the hook. They're moving towards the fish. The fish is coming at them. The fish jumps. They can't keep up with it. Advantage fish. So I like to get rid of the resultant movement. I like to make sure that I'm almost completely stopped when I start my presentation, and then I use the lure to add some momentum. Now, here's how that works. Come out and come right down the side of the boat as close as you can, and then on the next stroke, come as close down the side of the boat as you can. You don't want to bang the boat, and you also don't want to have the paddle so long that your drip rings end up in the water, because you're basically going to get a free bath at that point. So for me, what I do is I set my paddle stroke to where when I come, or set my drip ring, and I choose my paddle length so that when I come down the side of the boat, my drip ring doesn't go into the water. If you put your drip ring into the water when you make your next stroke, all that water is going to run down the paddle blade, down your elbow, into your armpit, down your side, and you're just going to be miserable. So set your drip rings properly, choose the proper paddle, and use a proper paddling technique. And in a sit-on-top kayak, for me, I like to use a 30-degree offset. I like to take my paddle, put it into the water, clean catch. I like to get some momentum going, and then all I'm doing is tiptoeing along. I'm not making those big whoosh like that. I'm really just easily going along, knife edging my blade into the water, making a clean catch, and then on the backstroke, I like to come out razor edge so that I don't make that big whoosh at the end. And then when I make adjustments, I keep my paddle blade in the water, almost like I'm spreading butter to get myself where I want to go. Then I set my paddle down where I'm not contacting the paddle to the boat anywhere, because that's like beating on a drum, and that's going to spook fish. So be very deliberate in your movements, be very stealthy in your movements, and be very purposeful with the way that you paddle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to line up with you guys, and I'm going to paddle directly at you and show you how clean, easy, and effortless it is to paddle if you have a more vertical paddle stroke. In a sit-on-top kayak, you can't really rotate your torso, so you're going to pull with the bottom hand, push with the top hand, rotate, pull, push, and it looks just like this. Nice and clean, nice and easy, nice and quiet, nice and smooth. And that's how you paddle a fishing kayak. So that's going to do it. That's how to paddle a fishing kayak. My suggestion would be that you go over to the featured channels link on my page, go to some of the other paddling specific channels and watch some of the instructional videos where they get in a little more in depth. The more you know about paddling properly, the more you know about efficiently moving your kayak through the water, the better off you'll be, because this is your primary method of propulsion for the most part. If you're a pedal angler and you say, ah man, I don't need to know how to do that, it's actually imperative that you still know how to paddle paddle because you could always have a mechanical failure. You could always get into water too shallow, and you would be surprised how much of a difference it makes from the standpoint of efficiency, reducing fatigue if you can paddle properly, but more importantly, it's a big advantage for stealth when it comes to catching fish. If you paddle properly, if you paddle quietly, if you paddle efficiently, you'll catch more fish because you'll spook less fish. So anyway, that's the video, guys. How to paddle a fishing kayak. Hope you liked it. Smash that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to see more of these how-to videos. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And whether you're new to the channel or old to the channel, if you don't have your notifications turned on, smash that bell, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video.